Okay, so we're going to be talking about our trip to Tanzania, our service trip to Tanzania. So I'll begin by talking about the first activity that we did when we were in Tanzania, which was the microfinance. And so microfinance basically meant that we were in charge of raising money, which we did here in Switzerland. One of the main ways we raised money was by doing a primary school movie night, and this raised suitable funds to do what I will explain next. And so when we went to Tanzania, we had to visit 3 different businesses from entrepreneurs who had set up their own companies. And so one of them was
sold like chicken or something.
She sold frozen food, so it was basically just one freezer, and in that she had frozen food, which was mainly chicken.
Yeah, and then another one was kind of like a laundry person who would do everybody's laundry and like iron their clothes and do little sewings if they needed to.
Sewing.
And we also had, there was one woman who had like a little hut next to the school where she would cook food for the school children to come and buy. But she wanted to expand this and actually kind of create a sort of restaurant. So this is where our financing would come into place.
And so in groups we had to talk with the people who own these companies, and we had to decide who we would give our money to. And this was quite a difficult situation because we knew that all the businesses needed the money to expand and to grow, but we had to think hard and think about the best possible outcome to decide who to give the money to. And so that was quite a challenge for me personally, because I wanted everyone to have some money so they could all expand their business. So we came to a final conclusion. And so with the microfinance, what I learned from it was that it's important to really submerge yourself into that culture and understand what the goal of the company was and what the people wanted to achieve. And it was just a really interesting and eye-opening experience into businesses and into how people earn money and make a living in that village that we visited.
Yeah, we were lucky in the end we could finance all the 3 entrepreneurs. So that was
because we raised enough money through all of our.
Do you have any news from?
No, we have no news.
Yeah, no, not like we connected with this man called Mr. Bob who would live there, like 6 months out of the year, something like that, and would like help the kids. But he only told us about the construction of the preschool that we're going to talk about.
I was talking to the teacher who brought us to Tanzania, who went with us, and she said one of the entrepreneurs has already paid the loan back. So I think they're kind of becoming sustainable now.
That already shows that like business is booming.
Yeah.
So for the last 5 days we taught in a school, and we were separated into groups of 3 or 4, and we prepared lessons for it was 5th graders and 6th graders, and I think we did 4 classes in total, so 4 periods, and and so in the classes, as you can see here, there were about like 20 people, and I noticed that like compared to us, the students in those classes were older than we were in those classes. So like in 5th and 6th grade and 6th grade, there were like people were 14 or 15, which is older than we were, I think. And so we had time to prepare the lessons in the school. So we prepared in our groups, and it was challenging because in the beginning we didn't know exactly what their level of English was. So we prepared geography and shapes and time, and then in the end we actually went back to give extra lessons because they were like really enthusiastic. The students, they were really enthusiastic, welcoming. They smiled a lot. We even went and played with them outside, like doing mimes and stuff. And and even though we taught them English, it was there wasn't any like language barrier because it was really easy to communicate with them, and it was really an amazing experience teaching.
Yeah, and then what was cool since we taught like over a course of a few days was that like Boris was in my group, we'd be able to start with the lesson at the beginning, say like shapes, and then be able to kind of develop it into more things. So we would do like shapes and then numbers one day and then colors one day, and then we would be able to like create games with the kids to help them just kind of remember them more. And we did see like a significant difference that like at the beginning they did kind of like trip up with like maybe mixing up like shapes and stuff, but then towards the end of the week they really did understand what we were teaching them, and that kind of felt like empowering that we were able to teach them English in like a productive way.
And even for us, we learned how to teach a bit, and we taught them in different ways. Like for example, here we separated the class into small groups, and each teacher, because we were groups of 3 or 4, would go to a group and do activities. And yeah, it was really a great experience. Here's some photos. So we played games, we did mimes, shapes. Yeah.
Do you feel that it was really about teaching, or it was about something else?
I mean, for like this, for the students, yeah, maybe like for them it was learning, but for us, I feel like it was more of being able to connect and bond, and almost we were learning at the same time they were learning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because they might have not gained, like, we stayed 5 days, so for them it wasn't a big deal, but for us it was a huge deal, I think. So.
Alright, so I'm going to talk about the interaction outside of teaching. So outside of our teaching periods and building hours, which we'll develop on after, we actually had to spend time with the children, and through this we sort of expanded our own like stereotypes on Tanzania and Africa in some ways, and we completely erased them. As for myself personally, I found that all of these kids were much more grateful for what they had than, for example, we would be, and they just always came out with a smile with whatever you said. They were always looking to have a good time. And although there was a language barrier in terms of communicating outside of the classroom, as sometimes you would try to talk to them and they would reply with a yes or no, even though it was a very complicated question, we could always connect through sports, or just sometimes we'd go off and dance with them for some reason. It's just
I think as well,
enjoyable.
like for me, the main thing that I'll remember is just the fact that they completely allowed us to submerge ourselves into their culture and learn about a culture and like live a culture that none of us had experienced before. And so that's something that it was just nice, and it was an experience I probably won't have again, to completely submerge myself into that culture.
Do you think that the joy that you both experienced was also the fact that it was just a meeting with something exceptional for both of you?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I personally feel that I learned probably as much as these kids did in terms of interacting with different people that come from different cultural backgrounds and differences. And I just feel that I've become more accepting of different cultures as well, in general. So.
Because I think you prepare the trip for months, but they also are looking forward to have some people coming from another country for months. So no matter what you do really within the time limit of a week, is a lot to do with all the expectation that you have, the fact that you are looking forward to something, and of course, like what you can do is only limited, but I think the fact that just some people from different countries, from different cultures can meet is already something quite interesting for both parties.
I mean, this is when the issue of language barriers come in, outside of the classroom and outside of the building. We had problems with communication in terms of talking to the general people of the village that we were working in. But then we had people who did know some English and tried to learn other languages off us. And this was the priest of the village, who supposedly spoke German fluently, but that didn't really work out. And it was because Tanzania used to be a colony of Germany. They were actually very proud of their colonial days in some way, and they tried to learn the languages of their colonial times as well. So I found that kind of interesting as well, that they also want to expand their knowledge in terms of languages and be able to communicate with us. So.
Yeah, so We built the foundations for the kindergarten at the start of the week, and we were split into two different groups as the group of us who went. So half of us would be teaching in the morning and half of us would be building. Then we would swap that around, so in the afternoon. And we built a lot more than I thought we would in the space of the 5 days that we were building. But we couldn't have done it without the help of these 4 men. And also the pastor helped and the school teachers helped. Like, everyone came, and it was a really nice sense of community. But it wouldn't have been possible because we weren't very experienced. We would have been ruining it. But it was tiring days, hard days, but it was really, really rewarding because we could physically see the difference that we were making each day, and we saw it grow. And then we had confirmation from Mr. Bob, the man who met, and the kindergarten's now finished, the roof's on it, everything's in, the furnishings and stuff. And so that's really nice to know that it's all complete and people are using it. But no, it was rewarding.
It started from like nothing. There was grass.
And then we just
and then in the end, it was higher than this. We had like a meter, I guess, of wall.
Yeah.
Which is because, well, I don't know if you know, but building walls is actually really easy. It's the first part, like the foundations, you have to dig a hole, then put rocks, and then put like cement, and you have to. So the beginning is really hard, and that was tiring. But then putting the bricks, that's like it goes really fast.
Yeah. And then I remember like with the building in terms of like interacting with each other. Like, I was a new student, so I was new in it last year, so I didn't know a lot of people who were on the trip. And I think just being able to work together and like we all were like passing buckets of dirt with each other and just like knowing like that we could trust each other with these, like, I know it's just like a bucket of dirt, but it's almost like more than a bucket of dirt, because like we would be telling each other like it's heavy or it's light, so that we all would be able to carry this bucket of dirt all the way to the end.
I mean, someone asked me the other day, why would you go to Tanzania and actually build foundations when you could just pay people to build it, like the locals, to employ them? And I was thinking about this, and in some way it makes sense to employ the local people, but it's not really a sustainable job. And by going there, you can interact with them, maybe teach them some English, like the workers, for example, these guys. At the end of the week, I remember speaking with this guy, and we had sort of a conversation in English, and I think that will benefit him and benefit me in the future more than just employing him for a certain time period, a short time period, to build a school.
But I think also it's just creating small bridges between individuals, even though the bridges are maybe momentarily or superficial, then, but it's always about the human contact. You can't really exchange that for anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we did have some challenges when building. All of us we had no experience when we went there, and we heavily relied on the people working with us. And although it was like physically challenging, I think, as Mary Rose said, we kind of came together and decided to work as a unit to overcome like our challenges.
So now I'm going to talk about like the orphanage that we visited. We came and we brought like suitcases full of. Did we bring them the books as well? Yeah. Yeah, we brought them like books and toys, and we also brought them like multivitamin packs that really helped them, because all these kids here, of course, are orphans, and like more than 90% of them had HIV/AIDS, and it was just, I've never been to an orphanage, so it was just kind of really eye-opening that they were all still like, they had so little, and yet they were still smiling and everything. And we danced with them and sang with them, and they sang us like a little song and performed for us, and I just thought it was quite beautiful. And like, even though we were there for just lunch, it felt like we'd been there for like a couple of days because of how much we got to know them in that little time.
So we also went back on the last day before leaving Tanzania to a school that ISL had actually been to before and built, I think it was 4 buildings in terms of over a period of 10 years, I think. And we went back to the school in order just to see the progress that has been done. And we noticed that all these students, they recognized, well, they heard about the school that built the buildings and everything that allowed them to have education is coming back. So they're very happy to see us. And here they're all doing the peace sign because it was a political thing in Tanzania back then when we went. And yeah, it was very nice to see the people who actually, some people that we know, connected with, and we sort of reconnected these bonds and the connection that our school has and that our culture has to these people.
And also we fundraised for scholarships for like 5 of girls, I think, from the school. So we actually met them and they showed us around the school, and so we like firsthand met these people.
And I think we had leftover money as well for an extra tuition for a student to go to the school. We could have chosen to donate it to the construction or to another scholarship, and we thought a scholarship would be more feasible.
Yeah. So, our learning outcomes from the service trip. Basically, we learned to appreciate more what we have here, and that we're very fortunate, as many people that we met lived in poverty and didn't have the same level of education as us. And I think that the physical contact we had with these people just re-emphasized that idea, for myself at least. I don't know about you guys. But
I definitely learned like communication and how important communication is. And although it wasn't necessarily like verbal communication because it was quite hard, it was just that whole communication and the way that we expressed things differently than we would just speaking, and just building bonds and submerging into a new culture. So like global awareness as well.
Do you have any questions? You need some questions. So you can just maybe start let's go for some questions.
Do we need to film the questions?
Yeah.
Would you ever go back?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Maybe like not Tanzania, but experience like more of Africa. Because it's all different.
I'd go back.
And like even though it's not possible, but our group, like going there, we had like, well, thanks to building and also like the groups within teaching, like it really, there was a lot like group spirit, because we also slept in tents, and so we were 2 or 3 in tents, and just like living for a week, it's not much, but living in tents and going and having tiring days building and teaching, it was really like an amazing experience. So yeah, I'd go back.
Do you feel like you learned a lot about like the Tanzanian culture by going there, like the locals or?
Yeah, I think we did. We were living in like a village, and we were camping, and we walked around every day and stuff. We weren't like getting in a car and like driving places, and even the food we ate was traditional Tanzanian food and stuff. And so I think when we went, we did really explore the culture. We didn't just go and like stay in a hotel and have like pasta every night. So.
Yeah, we tried to like submerge ourselves as much as possible, like in a week.
Yes.
Who do you think benefited more from it, you or the Tanzanians?
That is a good question.
I think.
And if I was able to answer that,
I would say us, definitely.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah, I'd say us.
I mean, even though, we did help them, but us.
Yeah, it wasn't like we were going in and like saving everyone and stuff. That whole like where like people come in and help, because people.
No, we tried to kind of break that idea as well. Yeah. Like in the microfinance thing, it's the idea that people have to be sustainable by themselves, and we can help them with a small loan. Then they have to create a sustainable sort of living for themselves. So. Yeah, there's definitely more rewarding for them, for us. So.
And also, I think that like coming back, we really see how privileged we are. So it was eye-opening for us as well.
Any other questions? Okay, we can start with